Oh my, the longer podcast is here with me, Paul Clough, Personal Development Unplugged. And unashamedly, I've piggybacked on somebody else's podcast, Chase Jarvis, Creative Calling. And when I heard it, it was so good, but I had to add to it. I had to give my 2 penneth, my 2 cents. And I hope by directing it to more about our own personal development, I've added to it or made something a little bit clearer. Certainly helped me to get clearer in myself, which I hope will make it a little bit easier for you to get clearer on yourself and strive and be your very best. Have a listen after this. Hey, my friends, welcome. This is the Personal Development Unplugged podcast. What's it all about? Well, it's about improving ourselves, obviously personal development. It's with me, Paul Clough. Who am I? Well, I'm Paul Clough, I just said that. But what I do and have skills at or in is hypnosis, NLP, timeline therapy, and lots of other stuff. I teach the blooming stuff to everyone I can. Been doing it for years. But the thing about this podcast is it's sharing things that just work, deconstructing the things that are really difficult or made to appear difficult by people making them difficult. Maybe they want to keep them secret, I don't know. But we're going to deconstruct those type of things so we can use them for ourselves. And, as I say, self-develop. Get better in life. Get our goals, our dreams. Improve anything you want. The thing is, it's not just listening. There's things to do, because if you're just knowing this stuff, that's okay. But knowledge without doing, not really worth it, is it? So do, if you're listening, do, try, do the things that we go through, the processes, the hypnosis tracks, because when you put the effort in, the return on your investment will be enormous. Anyway, that's what we do here.
Warning.
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 Warning. You are entering into the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. Too late. Personal Development Unplugged.
Hey, my friend, welcome to the PDU, Personal Development Unplugged podcast. And today, this episode is directly, unashamedly borrowed. Well, borrowed in part, that is. Borrowed in part from a guy, there's a podcast called, I think it's called Creative Calling, but it's by Chase Jarvis. Now, Chase Jarvis is a professional photographer, or used to be, and he's documented his passion for creativity, and he's got an awesome book called Creative Calling. So if you haven't read that and you're into creativity, because we're all about creating something for ourselves, I guess. So that's creativity, isn't it? When we're creating the best you, the best me, the best us, the best life, the best reality. That's all about creativity, isn't it? So this is, as I say, this is borrowed from him. I was listening to his podcast. And again, if you haven't listened to Chase Jarvis' podcast, I think it's called Creative Calling, have a listen, because it really is. And he seems such a nice guy. And by the way, I don't get anything for these, by the way. This is just me, Paul, giving you my thoughts on some good things to listen to. But you see, he was talking about how hard should you work? It was a question, I think. And that's why I've called it the same episode, or the same episode title, because he answered the question. And as expected, I guess, from me, I expected it, he leans greatly on the direction of your calling. So how hard should you work towards your calling? And he does it in a wonderful way. He does that. Yeah, I shall be overwhelming in my praise for it, because it was really good. Because he didn't go into things like getting into the hustle. And that's what I want to tell you. You don't have to get into this hustle. Let's do it all the time. Because that, as we know, just leads to, the expected burnout, doesn't it? So, and when my little meta question, or my meta statement about this is, you don't have to believe the hype. And that hype about having to hustle all the time. because there's so much great advice out there to the contrary of that, which to me is overwhelming in a good way. Because at the end of the day, I want you to feel reassured that there's ways to get what you want, the way you want it. But there is this thing about how hard you should work, because you're in control of that, aren't you? You are in control of how hard you work. But I don't think it's about the hard, but we'll come to that shortly. Because I also want you to feel that you just know that you're going to succeed, because you've got this. And I wrote "got this" in uppercase, big capital letters, because you've got this. That's how I want you to feel. You're in control. You're assured. You've got this. I'm going to succeed, because you're going to, not this work smart, but you are going to work smart. You see, I concurred with everything that Chase Jarvis talked about, even though it was leading to your calling. I could see that you could massage it or take it into different contexts. So there's no problem with that. It was really good. And I even was so pleasantly surprised, more than that, because he even goes into not having a work-life balance. And you think, what? Somebody else talking about not having a work-life balance? So many people talk, you've got to get this balance right. But again, he promoted harmony. Harmony. And I wondered to myself, hey, Chase, you've been listening to us over here? Because we talk about harmony. Because balance to me is, well, it's either or it's just a flat line. Something is balanced and it's dead, doesn't have momentum. You're trying to balance things up. But with harmony, it's when you need to push, you push, and when you don't need to push, you don't push. And the metaphor that was given to me was like a jazz band when they're just improvising. They're just jamming. And as you're listening to them, you'll suddenly see one of the guys come to the fore. Might not be the lead player, but it might be like the saxophonist. And they come to the fore, and everyone tends to just back off a little bit. So he has the floor, she has the floor, they have the floor. And then maybe the guitar player comes in, and that saxophonist just, with balance, pulls back a little bit. Maybe there's a pianist. He then comes in, the drummer, the bass player. And each one is in balance, or they balance each other. Because there are times in our life when we have to do one thing more than the other. So it could well be we have to rest more. We have to rest more to get more. Or there are other times where we have to work just fucking hard. But we know that because we are aware of the harmony. So I was so pleased to hear someone else promoting harmony in this, how hard should you work? Because some people, as I said, this hustle. If you're not working 25 hours a day, then you're not working. And if you're not thinking about your work every moment of the day, then you're not doing it. And you're not an entrepreneur and you're not this. And it's so BS. It is so BS. Anyway, here's the and. No but today. No but. It's an and. See, I'd like to add my 2 cents, my 2 penneth worth. It's an old English saying, old penneth, a penny, a cents. Because I was inspired just listening to saying, I just thought to myself, I just want to add to this. I want to make it that people know about his episode, but also put my little spin on it, because it's not just how hard you work. It's not just how hard you do anything, really. See, in my mind, my thought was, how hard shouldn't you work? What? How hard shouldn't you work? Because you see, I was thinking of this burnout. Because if you work 100 miles an hour, 25 hours a day, 8 hours a week, 54 weeks a year, can't go any further than that, can I? 13 months a year, then you will burn yourself out. And the thing about it is, when you burn yourself out, it is really, really difficult to get back into it. Because you spent, and I do know that your unconscious mind will go, well, the burnout in some ways comes from your unconscious mind by saying, enough's enough. We see people with migraines. Migraines are like your unconscious mind signal, not all the time, but generally your unconscious mind signal to say, hey, stop. Just stop now. Go into this room and stop you. I'm not going to let you think of anything. And we don't want that for anybody. Because again, that's not working smart, and that's not working hard, that's working stupid. But then I got to thinking, I wanted to think a little bit deeper than that, you see. I wanted to add more, but deeper. Because that's don't work quite so hard, doesn't mean anything, does it? You see, I was thinking about it, because I do have this little thing where I just sit down and muse. And I make a few notes, and as I'm making notes, I'm musing even more. You see, whatever you do, and I'm not just talking about work now, whatever you do, in any context, you should work hard, shouldn't you? And my definition of working hard is giving it your best. And if in the work side, if you're an employee, a manager, or an entrepreneur, or the boss, or I don't care, or wherever in work side, doesn't matter. Whatever you do, you give it your best. And even in every other context, if you're a partner, you give it your best. Because I know Tony Robbins talks about we all have different roles during the day. You might wake up in the morning and be the father, the parent, the brother, the sister, just for a short time. That's your role. Now you give that your best. I think sometimes we lose focus. Or when you're driving, your role is the driver, and you should give it your best. You focus. When you're making dinner, when you're doing that, that's your role. You are the chef. If you're thinking about your partner, you then become the best partner you can be. These are your roles. And, I can't, that to me is, I'm not going to say it's easy to do, because it was easy to do, we'd all bloody do it, and no one would be listening to podcasts like this, we'll be listening to stories, because, we would all be perfect, and there's no perfecticity in the world, but we would all be satisfied. But we're not, are we? I know I'm not, and I know you're not, else you wouldn't be listening to me, and you wouldn't be listening to other things like this, and you wouldn't be, striving to be who you're really destined to be, because you've got to give it your best. So even when you work, even if it's for 1 hour, I'm going to sit down for 1 hour, you give that 1 hour your best. And then, hang on a minute, we're going to come to that. So here's some thoughts behind this. Why wouldn't you work hard? Why wouldn't you? Why give second best and not your best? Because we do sometimes, don't we? When we look back and go, that wasn't my best. I could have done better. Now, I think there's a real easy reason for that. And a reason, not an excuse. Because we just, first of all, not setting our intention. We're not setting our intention, and we don't even know what we're doing sometimes. We don't sit down just for a moment and go, what is my plan? What is my goal? Even if it's only to make lunch, what's my goal? I want to make the best lunch there is. Give it my best. Or I'm a partner just for this half hour before I go to work. What's my goal? What's my intention? We very rarely do that. And if we just could stop and pause, that's stopping and pausing. We're talking about that a little bit later, but you see, you're more than that. See, I don't care what you are. Even if you think you're the best, I always know you're more than that. But sometimes we have to, reflect on our values. What's important to us. And I don't mean what's important to us about not just necessarily the job, but what's important to us about life. Our real core values, our personal values. The ones which identify us, give us our identity. You see, I did mine a long time ago. When I say I did mine, I listed my values a long time ago, and someone helped me. And my top 2 were honest and true. Being honest, being true. And just as a side thought, I might even go through the values with you sometime, if you'd like. If you'd like to know your personal values, then we could do it together. It'll be great fun. Let me know. Side note, email Cluffy, feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Hey, Cluffy, love to look at those values. That's all you got to do. Anyway, back to the story. You see, when you know that we can sometimes forget or drift away from remembering those values. What happens when we're challenged? I know other people, they just make excuses, don't they? They've fucked around a little bit. They haven't set their intention. They haven't done their best. And as soon as, not necessarily challenge, but just they make excuses, don't they? They find ways not to do stuff. Have you ever done that? Have you? I know I have. I've made excuses even sometimes before I start. Oh, this will never work. I haven't got the right stuff. Oh, I haven't got enough time. Everything. I make excuses so I don't have to do my best. Now, that's a personal admission. And the thing is, I don't do it all the time. But I know if I think back, there are times that I have done that. And I've tried to get the best excuse to excuse myself. And I try to do it as reasons. I'm like, here's the reason why I didn't do it. I try to reason it out. But those reasons are simply bloody excuses. And if we just rewound that and actually said, well, if I'd have set my intention, if I'd have just recollected my goal, if I just thought about the values of what I'm trying to achieve and how I'm going to live up to my values, we would have found a better way. Or, if nothing else, even if we didn't have the right time or enough time, the right ingredients, the right tools, we would have done the best we could have done with the stuff that we had. And I know that even though, well, maybe it is just me who does that, but have a think inside. That's maybe an excuse that we're not going to put up with. We're not put up with for ourselves. And we're going to be better. We are going to do our best. We're going to do our best, because if you didn't think that, I know you wouldn't be listening to me right now. These words going into those ears wouldn't resonate. And I'm going to guess you're even thinking, with some pictures in your mind, what would it be like if I just did set my intention, and even set my intention unconsciously, but doing it together, boom. I wonder what that would be like. What type of things you'd be able to achieve. How would and how much would you surprise yourself? Surprise yourself by the results that you get. No more excuses, because the only excuse you'd be giving is, how can I do this better? This is not bad. In fact, it's bloody good. But how can I do it better next time? Now, there's some great questions. Now you're looking for an excuse to get it better, having done your best. Anyway, you see, what got me thinking about this was, the type of things, and we say, well, how do you set your intention like that, Paul? Well, I was thinking, Navy SEALs have it. They wake up every morning and they earn their tridents every day, or their trident every day. It's a new day to earn my trident again. Isn't that setting your intention to be the best you can in everything for the whole of that day? That is, to me, pretty awesome. And we've talked about this before, but it just came back to me. Earn your trident every day. Today, I'm going to earn my trident. And I'm not a Navy SEAL, but I can get into that. Then there was David Goggins. Become uncommon among uncommon people. Now that to me is an awesome intention. What set of values would you have when you want to be uncommon amongst uncommon? Say that again. Being uncommon amongst uncommon people with only the best intentions, the best results that you want for others. And it's simply just, all of that is like setting your intention to strive to be your best. And that's what it is, striving to be your best. Nothing more. Pretty simple, really. And old Albert Einstein, in simplicity there's genius. So those sayings, be uncommon amongst uncommon people, earn your trident every day, strive to be your best. There's nothing complicated in that. So what would you call yourself or say to yourself? If you would just close your eyes for a moment and ask yourself, what would be my sentence, my word that encompasses, if that's a word, encompass is the way I'm going to set my intention. And you see, even when you do that, This is a little bit, you see, sometimes we're not going to make it. We are going to fuck it up a little bit. But it's not giving you an excuse. Because then giving your best says, hang on a minute, I fucked that up. I'm going to do better. How can I learn from this so I never do it again? How can I learn from it? What can I do better next time? And asking those questions means, yes, I'm now doing my best. Again, another way of setting your intention for the next time. And we're not going to say I'll do better tomorrow, because tomorrow never comes. I will do better. That's it. I'm going to do better. Because, what I said earlier, I'm more than that. And whatever I think I am, I'm more than that. And that is like just setting your personal best, I guess. Just one fraction higher than it was before. And we can always, when we do anything, we can always say, could I have done that a little better? Well, probably if. Now in hindsight, good old 20/20 vision hindsight, that, I could have done. Because I've got something to measure myself by, something to learn by. But you have to do it first. But as long as I do my best, strive to do my best, earn my trident, become uncommon by doing my best and striving to really crack it out, then I will do better. I can always do better next time. And that means I get to, that's when you really feel grateful or gratefulness. Because when you look back and you go, God, that was awesome. Yeah. So now you could do all of this and more, couldn't you? You could. Now you could do all of this and more. And this is where my addition bit comes in, by the way. And not make it. Not achieve it. Not achieve those goals, those dreams. Not achieve your best. But let's go back and think about it. You see, you have to incorporate the how you use the above. See, if you are trying to do too many things, and when you try to do, not even doing your best, forget the doing your best. If you just try to do too many things, which is effectively more than one at a time, you're going to start making mistakes. You're going to start getting overwhelmed. You're going to start creating problems. You're going to start to create the stuff that becomes urgent. And that's when things go awry. So it doesn't matter how, even if you said to yourself, I know, Paul, I'm going to do my best. Strive to do my best in these 4 things I'm going to do right away. Then I know that you're going to end up having excuses because you're going to have overwhelm. You're going to even have bloody burnout, the very thing that we wanted to go away from. You're going to have disharmony. Do you imagine that? You imagine like that, go back to that jazz, those jazz musicians. Say they're all playing at the same time. That's exactly that overwhelm. Sounds terrible. It's chaos. So, first of all, you have to think of, do I have a plan? Oh, the good old planning. You see, we have talked about that, haven't we? Setting goals in your future. We even got one coming out where it's going to be, what if setting goals in your future doesn't work? I have to listen to that one. It's coming soon. But you see, part of your plan is being able to filter out and do the important things, because they're not necessarily the urgent things, because you can fuss and do loads of urgent things and not actually get anything done. You're firefighting. But if you do the important things, and not necessarily the important things that other people say are important, it's what you know to be important, because they're not walking in your shoes. They don't have your experience, unless they do have better experience and you listen to them. But sometimes it's always, this is what's expected. No, I'm going to do the important things and do one thing. Do the one thing that will create the most effect, the most positive change, make the most progress. And that's the difference. So you get the things you need to do and just go, which one of these, when done, striving to do my best, will create the most change, which will be the most effective, which will create the most progress in the direction of my goal. And even from then, you might want to actually say, I need to just have some mitigation thoughts, just in case this one does come up. Or I need some options to make sure. So we always do that. But until you evaluate and filter out what is the most important thing, the one thing, if I only did one of those, which one would be the most magical, which would make the most difference? Because as I said, no one can multitask and be successful. I don't care who you are. You can't. Try to think of a happy thought and a sad thought. You can't do it. You can't think of two things at a time. It has to be one at a time. So if you're going to strive to do the best, you do one thing well, and then the next. And you do them in small steps, and you set your intention. You look at the big picture. You look at the small steps. It's all like those 5 keys to success. Know your outcome. Take massive intuitive action. Continual massive intuitive action. Become aware. Become aware of your progress, measuring, making sure that you are striving to do your best. And when you may be a little bit off course, because things can happen, those options, those mitigations, you're flexible enough to make the changes that are needed because you've got that goal in mind. And you're coming from a physiology and psychology of excellence. Act as if. So each time you're doing something, to strive to do your best, you go, how would I act? If I was actually succeeding in this, how would I act? What would be the best way? And then you make sure, and this is the important thing, I think, you make sure to rest, recover. You break your state. You come away from it. And in fact, you're just recharging those batteries, because if you recharge the batteries, then boom, you can go again. But it's like that burnout. You get to a point where the battery will just not, it takes too long. And then you try to use it again. And you try to recharge it again, and it's still never getting above 10%. Never works. A little red light comes on. That's my little metaphor anyway. Because when you rest and recover, and then you set yourself out again to do the work that you want to do, strive to be the best, that becomes a harmony. And you could say, overall, because of the rest and recovery, you're probably working about 80%. But it's 80% with no injury, no downtime. You got more energy. You never get injured. You're just there. And I'll tell you now, those people who try to work 100% all the time, they're not even getting an average of 80%. Because there will be times, you see, you might just say, well, 80% all the time, Paul. No, just occasionally, when it's needed, and that's like stepping forward to do your solo, you will work at 100%. But you'll know for how long. You'll know the reason why, because it's your intention, your goal. And you also know that you will rest 100% too. Now, you can think, okay, Paul, that sort of makes sense. It doesn't sort of make sense. It makes perfect sense. Because I can guarantee you, very, very rarely do people work consistently at 80%. At the end of the month, if you look at what they've done, they wouldn't be working at 80% overall. They wouldn't get 80% of their results. But when you do it this way with focus and attention and earning your trident, it's like doing your best at 80%. Because you're just making sure your energy can go. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon, that type of thing. But when you need to sprint, boom, you push it. Now, how could you change this even more? Be a little radical. Well, sometimes just before you start, just think I'll say that again. Think weirdly. Get outside the box and just think, oh, what can I do differently? What would happen if I did this? What else could I do which might just make the difference? Stop just for a moment or two and pause. Take time to think, to reset, as it were, to recommit, to set your intention, to remember your goal, for goodness sake. At least swore again. Because we sometimes even forget what we're trying to do because we're pushing so hard. But if you effectively, efficiently, you'll outshine everyone. And I believe you will create the life that you want. I believe that you will succeed so much better than you could ever imagine. And it's not taking anything that you haven't got. And in fact, the more you do this, those muscles get stronger. and your 80% becomes stronger than anybody else's 100%. And you've always got energy to do that spurt if you need to. That sprint, to push further, to create better results. And then that resting time is to enjoy it. Because what's the fuck's point in pushing and pushing and pushing if you're not going to enjoy it? And the last thing you want to do is actually, when I say injuries, I mean just ill health, those migraines, that finding that we just keep going down with colds and things that just keep affecting us. As I get a sore throat, I've got a headache. Or when we go to the gym, because we just haven't got all the energy, we suddenly do something and we injure actually physically our muscles because we're thinking of other bloody things at the same time. We're not focusing on that one exercise, giving it our best and that's what happens, isn't it? We can injure ourselves, it's like going to the gym or running or doing something because we're thinking of something else. We're not concentrating and focusing on the job at hand, striving to do our best. So that was what came from listening to Chase Jarvis, Creative Calling. I think if you put the two things, hopefully my 2 penneth, my 2 cents, has made a positive impact. It certainly made me think deeper, which is always a good thing to do, isn't it? So you don't have to believe the hype. And you will succeed because you've got this, because you've got a strategy. You're in control. There you go. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this addition to somebody else's podcast. I apologize for piggybacking, but I just felt, when you get that thing, you think, I just got to do this. So a big up to Chase Jarvis, and I hope you enjoyed this. If you did, I'd love you to let me know via the email feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. Maybe even email Chase Jarvis or give him a review of how much you enjoyed his take on how hard you should work. I'd also love you to share both podcasts, Creative Calling and the Personal Development Unplugged.com. I'm going to go all back my head. See, I was thinking of 2 things then. It can't be done. The Personal Development Unplugged podcast with me, Paul Clough. If you could, just share that to as many people as you don't know and you do know. That would be awesome. And leave a little review. If you leave a little review, as I always say, just take a little screenshot of it. Send it to me on that email. And, well, you get a lovely reply. You get a good thank you. And that's what it's all about. And always remember, there's 50 plus hypnosis tracks for you. Well, hypnosis and NLP processes. And they're completely free. Where do I get them from, Cluffy? Well, I'll tell you. You go to paulcloughonline.com/podcast. And they're all there. You'll get a personal email from me, which will give you the link. It'll give you a discount code to, the programs on this. There's some great programs. I know they're great because I know. I took a lot of time to create them. And they're so competitively priced because of that discount. And there's a money-back guarantee, so you've got nothing to lose other than things like unconfidence or anxiety. Or you may be able to just enjoy so much creating an inner retreat in your mind, like that inner mind palace, or being able to relax so deeply and then relaxing so quickly. There's some programs on there. Have a look. Hypnosis programs and, those full Supreme Inner Confidence program. I loved making them, and I know the hypnosis tracks on there that really go into the past, the present, and the future. Well, I spent a lot of time making sure that they're so profound. Anyway, that was I'd say that anyway, wouldn't I? Because I did it, and I do love them. But do have a look. Let me know. Remember, always email me, personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. No, it's feedback@personaldevelopmentunplugged.com. And also, when you do, there is a little newsletter. Comes out about once a month, but it's also got a video newsletter inside it. And you get me just telling you what's happening and maybe just sharing something which never comes out on the podcast episodes. So all of that seems to be, pretty good. But I do like to try to do them one at a time. And I do strive to do my best in each one. Even if you think sometimes I could do better, and I will. Biggest critic, that's me. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoy striving to earn your trident, striving to do your best, be your best, be the best you, singing from your real voice, showing up and showing people who the fuck you are. That's right. Sorry about the swearing. Had to be done. Okay. Until next time, my friend, go fly.
Warning, you are now leaving the unplugged mind of Paul Clough. It's time to fly on your own. Be brave, my friend.
Personal Development Unplugged.